maybe it's because trees were here long before we were, or because they seem to be the strong silent type, or because they're the source of so much that we use each day, that we tend to take trees entirely for granted. Perhaps it's because they're immovable and seem immobile. While we go about our lives at high speed, they appear to stand still. But although we might not see it, a tree is far from immobile. Seen in a different light and heard in a different way, it's definitely one of Earth's most powerful movers and shakers. From head to toe, a tree does nothing but move. Trees once covered 4/5 of the Earth's landmass, and all around the globe, a tree of life takes center stage in myth and legend. In Norse myth, a great ash tree called Yggdrasil linked the earth with heaven and hell. At its roots was a deep spring said to be the source of wisdom. The ancient Greeks thought Zeus created the human race from trees, and trees were long believed to carry the souls of the dead in their rustling leaves. Several of the world's great faiths tell of a tree where mankind gained knowledge of good and evil. Most living creatures can find shelter under the emerald blanket. Trees still cover almost half of the planet's land area. The empire of towering trees started small. The earliest plants were so tiny that hundreds would fit on a fingernail. Among the plants that sprang up, it was trees that went on to bigger things. None has more regal bearing than the oak. It offers so much: hardy timber, a habitat for other living things, and longevity people can only dream of. An oak believed to have sheltered Robin Hood still lives in Sherwood Forest. The oak is just one of more than 30,000 different kinds of trees. Over time, 3 great families evolved. The first was the conifer. Pines and other conifers took the streamlined path to power with the simplest of leaves, needles and scales. In a variety of climates, simple is good. Tiny leaves with a tough coating minimize water loss. And with more sugar produced, some conifers generate their own antifreeze. Conifers found a place of honor in the world of myth and legend. Their fragrant boughs were symbols of undying life and were brought indoors for Europe's midwinter festivals long before there were Christmas trees. An old story says juniper should be planted near doorways, as a witch would be able to enter only when she had correctly counted all the needles of the tree. The palm family were named for the spreading, hand-like shape of their leaves. Tough and fibrous, they thrive in the warmest parts of the planet. For a real variety show, top of the bill is the huge family of broadleaf trees and their spreading canopies. Their leaves come in a multitude of shapes and sizes. The Bergenia leaf is indeed broad, while the box, also a broadleaf, is tiny. In any form, a leaf is part of the tree's strategic response to the conditions around it, how it captures light and air. When autumn comes, some of the broadleaves put on a spectacular show. Inside each leaf Green pigments fade away, while the hidden red or yellow pigments are revealed. New England's warm autumn days and chilly nights cause many trees to produce more sugars, and with them, some of the finest views of all. When its leaves fall, the tree begins to hibernate. Production cuts back during the long winter months. Even a mover and shaker has to take a break once in a while. But come spring, many of the nutrients in the fallen leaves will find their way right back where they came from. To go out in a blaze of glory, only to spring back. That's power. Such tactics enable the broadleaf family to grow almost anywhere, and in thousands more varieties than the palms or conifers. What makes a tree a tree? It's not their tangled branches, or their seeds, or even their roots, although they may stretch as wide as the tree is tall. It's a combination of features: a single stem, the ability to make wood, and usually height. Giant bamboo? Close, but not a tree. It has multiple stems. A tiny bonsai? Yes, a rare exception to the rule about height, with all the majesty, just in miniature. A tree of some kind can grow almost anywhere, rooted in swirling tides or bending in the wind, finding a foothold on rocky terrain, or bound in ice. Still, a few places on Earth have no trees at all. For example, at the highest altitudes, or in the icy wastes of the North and South Poles. And there are other realms where trees can only grow when the local residents allow. In the grasslands of Africa, a contest with a hungry elephant can have only one result. Elsewhere, it's agriculture that keeps the trees at bay. But trees are persistent, and among them, there are specialists. The monkey puzzle, with twisted branches that puzzle and prickle even the most agile monkey. For size, no tree overshadows the giant sequoia, the most massive living thing on Earth. This one is General Sherman, alive and well and living in California. It stands 34 stories tall. From its timber, 40 five-room homes could be built. A century ago, there was a sequoia that would have made the general look like a private. Some enterprising showmen decided to take it on the road and charge admission for a glimpse of such splendor. Sadly, the tree didn't survive the attention. Its trunk snapped. End of show. As for the oldest living thing on Earth, it too is a tree which lives in Tasmania. The huon is 10,500 years old. It doesn't look like much. Maybe that's why it's lasted so long. No wonder mere mortals have revered trees across time. In ancient Rome, senators came home at lunchtime to feed wine to their favorite trees. In New Guinea, one culture celebrates the felling of a tree with ritual. Stones are thrown to ensure the tree's departing spirit will leave the tree cutters unharmed. Tree superstitions live on. Perhaps we're trying to summon the power of trees when we touch wood for luck. No one knows for sure how the custom arose, or why it must be done with the right hand. Wherever forests have grown up, so has magic and mystery. A fairy tale is never so spooky as when it takes place deep within a dark wood. Where the forest is dense, at least the trees are safe. There are benefits in standing together against the wind and other threats. A tree's true spirit is anything but malevolent. It makes a natural haven for plants and animals alike. With its sheltering arms and inviting bark, the tree is a kind of all-night motel, crawling with life. Birds of paradise flit in for courtship. Any neighborhood tree will do. Some trees are more like five-star hotels, with residents booked in for longer stays. Each kind of fig tree is emphatically exclusive. Only one kind of wasp is resident in each. Other trees seem to host conventions, for one species at a time. Even off-season. A tree can provide a handy changing room for an insect. Leopards store their leftovers in trees, away from greedy competitors. Reptilian guests drop in and out. And a tree may offer the best watering hole around, a pocket of refreshment between the main branch and the trunk. With several stories of space for those that come to stay, any host might find itself with problem guests, like the room-wrecking woodpecker. And the mistletoe, which stays on and on and on, sucking nutrients from its leafy host. Strangely enough, mistletoe often checks out in December. It seems to get invited elsewhere for Christmas. Only a tree can provide the year-round food supply some mammals store away, nutrition-packed seeds, like acorns. But when there are only leaves on the menu, an animal like the sloth may need to eat all night to gain enough energy to move. Even then, its top speed is a stately 1/10 of a mile per hour. Fortunately, people don't have to live on leaves. We've been eating fruits and nuts since the Garden of Eden. In Eastern Europe, woodsmen traditionally threatened their fruit trees with 3 mock blows of an axe to induce the tree to produce more fruit. The Aztecs were the first to make the delicacy they called chocolatl from the seeds inside the cocoa pod. It was the food of the serpent god Quetzalcoatl. A world without chocolate would be no fun at all. A world without mosquitoes. Now that's a thought. But until then, malaria, the world's biggest killer, is still fought with medicine from the bark of the quina tree. From aspirin to one of the latest cancer drugs, we can find cures for our ailments in trees. Just looking at trees can make us feel better. Research shows that patients who gaze out at trees from their hospital beds return to health a day faster than those who have no such view. Wood is one of our oldest and most dependable natural resources. We use it from the cradle to the grave. When we want to put down roots, we are likely to build with wood, both outside and in. When we're not sheltered by wood, we're burning it. Half of the world's forest crop is used for fuel, firewood or charcoal. In developing countries, 9 out of 10 people are warmed by trees. Throughout history, when human beings have felt like pulling up their roots, they've turned to wood. Nearly 4,000 mature trees were needed to build an 18th century warship. The British soon ran out of trees for their shipbuilding. The American colonies made up for the shortfall until 1776, when the supply suddenly stopped. People have even tried to get trees to fly. Some attempts have been successful. Without wood, the world would be a quiet place indeed. In Guatemala, only the wood of female trees is used to make the marimba. The sound is said to be the tree's lament for her lost lover, still standing in the forest. In Zaire, solemn rituals solicits the cooperation of both the wood and the spirit world. When the drum spirit is pleased, dancers become lost in the music. From pencils to rubber for erasers, to paper and the tires to transport them all, trees deliver the goods in seemingly endless supply. Since 1917, Earth's population has quadrupled, but worldwide use of paper has grown 17 times. Even a tree has a hard time coping with that much popularity. In some places, trees get a hand. Expert tree farming, recycling and conservation all stretch a tree's potential. But surely, amid the bounty of worldly goods trees provide, nothing gives more pleasure than their most simple offering of all, beauty. One romantic Scottish farmer planted a forest in the shape of a heart. Trees should be close to our hearts, since they fill our lungs. One mature oak tree provides a year's supply of oxygen for 8 people, or a whole warren of rabbits. And every tree runs an oxygen factory. Trees, unlike animals, can make their own food, starting with just sunlight and carbon dioxide. Sugars made in the leaves take internal elevators down to the factory in the trunk. Deep in the basement, water and minerals are sucked up by the roots, a labyrinth of drinking straws, stretching to any source of water. Water rises up to the inhaling, exhaling leaves, exhaling oxygen, the stuff on which our life depends, just a byproduct of the tree. It's sugars the tree needs, which fuel its steady expansion, the wood building that happens at the outer edge of the factory floor. There, new cells harden like cement mix and turn to solid wood. As the tree grows taller, it's also growing fatter, like a man piling on overcoats. Many trees add a new coat each year. Good times show as wide rings. The bands between rings form during winter when growth virtually halts. Tropical trees grow all year and have no rings. The eucalyptus adds a thick yearly ring. The huon has the thinnest ring of all. While humans live through revolution and war, fashions and fads, a tree just keeps adding rings. As millions of munching mouths, illness and gale-force winds hurtle through, there's constant stress, and only the strong can take it. When trees are under threat, they make strategic moves, and they mount defences. The African acacia is locked in an arms race. Its thorns are anti-giraffe paraphernalia. But giraffes can adapt too. They've developed thick rubbery lips, and they've learned to wrap their remarkable blue tongues among the thorns to feed. The acacia raises the stakes. It can inject poison into its leaves, and there's more. The tree gives off gas to warn its neighbours if a predator lurks. Who says trees can't talk? However, trees can't walk, let alone run. Their powers can't match the fury of fire. When fires ravage forests, the toll seems terrible. But sometimes the apparent disaster can be friendly fire. After the flames sweep through, fire-adapted species spring to life. Heat-sensitive seed pods burst open in the heat, and new shoots quickly sprout. Even in death, trees have the power to provide for the next generation. When the time is right, a tree will stop at nothing in the effort to entice, wearing scent, bright colours, and plenty of flowers. The Cortez Amarillion of South America is something of a shy seducer. It only flowers for one day each year, and always at tea time. Every tree is a seducer with a mission. Pollen must be moved, usually from a male stalk to a female flower, so a new generation can begin. Pollen grains cling to birds, bees, and bats, who never even know what hit them. Some trees are more subtle. There's no point in dressing up if the only help needed is from the wind. Then any bit of fluff will do. After the seduction, seeds take shape, but they don't stick around for long. Trees have devised countless strategies for ensuring that the next generation moves on. They travel by air or by sea with the help of a long-distance courier. Fish eat fig seeds and deposit them on faraway shores. Monkeys perform a similar function and provide a helpful load of fertilizer on delivery. When a tree stands alone, like the guanacast, far from its nearest neighbour, how did it get there? It rode in, courtesy of a seed-loving horse whose digestive system may keep the seeds in storage for up to a year. By that time, the horse will have left its mark, quite literally, all over the place. One courier, the agouti, is a great hoarder of nuts with a terrible memory. It often forgets where it stored its parcel of Brazil nuts, so they grow wherever the agouti left them. Trees are so successful in their reproductive schemes that they're often associated with human fertility. In parts of India, the fruit of the coconut palm is kept in shrines and given to women wanting children. And there are rituals to discourage reproduction. Christian nuns once drank a brew of the chaste tree's leaves to calm unhallowed emotions. There's no stopping a healthy tree's fertility, and there's no more powerful parent than the oak. Its spring flowers turn to autumn acorns, but rarely before an oak is 50 years old. Then 50,000 acorns fall from one parent tree. What happens next is a gigantic game of chance. Each acorn must first survive for an entire winter buried in its parents' fallen leaves. Even when spring comes, it faces terrible odds. The acorn isn't looking for parental attention, only survival. Among 50,000 siblings, there may be just one that survives and goes on to feed the seedling that sprouts and grows. With the strength of a powerful inheritance, plus luck, a sapling will live to magnificent maturity. Trees come packed with the power to succeed, but not even their defenses can withstand this. With what we now know about trees, deforestation is being reconsidered all around the world. For the oxygen supplied by trees is only part of their wealth. They're also like a bank, storing away some of our modern debris. Even a small wood can absorb much of the carbon dioxide produced by a fossil fuel power station. Whether growing in a sheltered forest or standing alone in the heart of a city, a tree is its own powerhouse of activity. Deep in its hidden factory, it conjures so much from so little. A tree will be many things in its lifetime. It will be mighty, productive, and more than a little bit pushy. The one thing it won't be is still.